maybe this is a good place to also talk about somebody I respect a lot, Dan Carlin of Hardcore History Podcast. He did an amazing series on Genghis Khan and the Mongols called Wrath of the Khans. I recommend people go listen to it. So he had a lot of interesting ideas there. One of them, he presented the idea of historical arsonists, so referring to figures who cause immense destruction but also pave the way for new developments and progress. Basically making this complicated case that destruction often in history paves the way for progress. So what do you think about this idea?
Creative destruction, it certainly works in some aspects of life, even with ourselves. For example, if we can creatively destroy some of our habits and build new ones, it sometimes works, or we can destroy relationships that we're in order to create new ones. It can work. When you start applying it to world history, it does become a little bit more difficult. I certainly think that these episodes create great changes. You can see great changes that happened because of the Mongol Empire. Now, whether or not that's a good reason for the Mongol Empire having happened, it seems like a bit of a stretch for me. The Mongols helped to unify many countries. You can think Korea had been 3, basically, kingdoms, pushed them together. Everything that you see in China today was a part of the Mongol Empire. They put together North China, South China, Tibet, Manchuria, and it was a little bit larger under the Mongols. Even Russia, with so many little kingdoms and duchies and dukedoms, and the center had been in the Ukraine and Kiev. And they shifted the focus out of Ukraine and more towards into what we call Russia now, and they began the process of the unification. It had a great impact on the country. So in a way, it's a new creation. Yes, it does arrive out of the destruction. But also, I think we need to look, where does the destruction come from? And it often comes because the powers around them have been so debilitated and so corrupted and so decayed of their own lack of moral fiber that it was easy to conquer them. The case of Kublai Khan finally conquered all of China. He was conquering a decayed dynasty. When the Mongols conquered Baghdad and overthrew the caliph, they were conquering a very decayed institution. No one likes war, and I certainly don't like war, but I'm not 100% against it. I think that there are times that people are going to do it for their own protection, if nothing else, or of their family, and it's justified in that sense to themselves. It may not be justified in a world sense, but I just make the case for being tolerant of what the Mongols did if we can tolerate what the Americans did. And I am American true and true. There's no question about that. But we overlook all of our things that we did. Now, it's interesting, for example, in Afghanistan, we were there for some 20 years. We had made the Taliban stronger before when they were fighting against the Russians, and then we kicked them out, and then they kicked us out. But some of the Taliban leaders are from the Jadran clan, the descended from Jamuk family, from his clan. This is what I mean when I say that the ramifications from that time are still with us, and we don't even see it. And when Saddam Hussein went on television for the last time in Iraq to plead with his people, he said, the Mongols, meaning Americans, the Mongols have returned. The Mongols have returned. And he said, the Americans are just the new And I can see it. I don't accept it. But I can see how people think. If we can be honest with ourselves and strip away our own lies about ourselves, then perhaps we will be more ethical in our dealings with other people.
And there's effects that you could talk about. I mean, the unification of China, Mongols or otherwise, is a very important step in the history of China that permeates to today. And then there's a lot of stuff that we'll talk about, the ideas of religious freedom, the postal network, the trade routes, all of this. There's a lot of progressive consequences of the Mongol conquest in the Mongol Empire. We'll talk about that, but let's linger on the heavier topic for a little bit longer. Like we were talking about Dan Carlin, he was critical of your work a little bit, showing it respect, but also a little bit critical, as being a bit too emphasizing and focusing a lot on the positive impacts correctly and accurately, but not giving enough airtime or describing the brutality of the killing, the hell that is war. So can you understand his criticism? Can you
Guilty. I'm
steal
guilty.
steel man?
I know.
Can you,
I mean,
yeah.
Carl is a very smart man. I respect him very much, and I like him tremendously. And he's right. But that is not what I want to stress. It's not that I want to deny the killing. It's not that I want to deny the warfare, but that's pretty much the same everywhere in the world. And how much do we need to say about how the wall was broken down, how this unit was defeated, and all? No, it's what comes afterwards. Just as the story of our life begins far earlier than we are born, the story of our life goes on for a long time afterwards. If you have a nation of 1 million people, and you are ruling over hundreds of millions of people, China, Russia, the Middle East, you do not do that through warfare. You conquer them initially through warfare, but you do not rule them through warfare. You've got to be offering something that they want, something that they like. And all the things you've mentioned, from the trading system, the postal system, the religious freedom, the rights of women, the rights of minorities, these were things that people responded to. And so the world benefited tremendously from the life of Genghis Khan. But all we want to talk about, and I don't deny it, is the conquest part. Okay, that's 20 years. If it went on for another 150 years, there's more to the story than just conquest.
And there is a point that you correctly identify, and you've also written about Native Americans and so on, that history does seem to be written by the non-barbarians. But in reality, history is not divided in this kind of way. And the barbarians are not these crude, brutal, plain, simple people, that there is a sophisticated, deep culture within them as well.
Yes.
All the different kinds of peoples that came from the steppe.
Yes. I guess if there's one thing that I try to do in my career of writing, it is to get us to recognize the importance of tribal people in the history of the world. We tend to have two categories for them. They are barbarians who kill people and eat one another, or they're victims, and we should feel sorry for them and nostalgic about everything about them, and maybe wear some of their beads or some of their clothing to show how much we sympathize with their suffering. That's the two roles for tribal people. But I'm trying to show them in a different light, that they conquered. Yes, they were conquerors, but they also created great things in the history of the world. And that the Mongol Empire was really the first modern empire in the way that I'm putting together that story. And Genghis Khan was the genius behind that, who created this idea that there could be one world in which there would be one set of supreme law, but all people could follow their own law. You could have any religion you wanted, but ultimately you had to obey kind of the great ethics of the sky. And there were things like that about his vision that I think very few people in history had a vision. And I look around the world today, and in my lifetime, since the time of Roosevelt's death, I look around, I don't see much vision. I see lots of slogans, lots of talks, policy papers. Oh my God, we can produce it. Where's the vision? It's always, we're going to have peace and we're going to have a better life, and, vote for me or vote for my party. And we're really for the people. And what the heck are they talking about? There is no vision there. So what is this country? What should this country be? What is this world? How should it? No vision.
Well, those figures, I mean, they're rare through history. The legendary figures that come along that have vision, but are able to capture the public imagination and heart and mind with the vision, but also have the skill to execute and implement it, and all of those things combined, and have the mental fortitude not to be corrupted by success along the way,
Yes.
all of those things.
That's very rare in history. Very
And
rare.
when they come along, they change the direction of history.